The new event just dropped. Fusion Synchro Xyz. This is like the Dark Light Festival back when, where you pick the side, and then how it's supposed to work is, I think you get to duel against people from the other teams. For example, if you're like in Fusion, right, you should only queue against Synchro and Xyz people. Granted, last time they kind of fucked this up and they messed up the matchmaking and broke the game. So then they made it end up so where everyone just queued with everyone else no matter which team they're on. So I don't know if this will stay like that, but you know, just theoretically, you should hopefully, because there's 3 groups now, you should be able to queue with the people using decks from the other team. So yeah, and this is a pretty high-powered event from the looks of it. I'm sure there will be budget builds to discover, and when I'm sure there's at least one budget build for each one of these summoning extra deck types, and when I do find them, I will definitely keep you updated. But right now, I just want to go over some of the more competent decks that you can play for this event that aren't the loners. So number 1 here, we have Branded Tearlament. Okay, so this is gonna look really weird. If you're just looking at this first time, you might be wondering, what the fuck is this? Well, first of all, so Retribution, Branded Retribution is banned. The card that adds Branded Fusion from your grave. Because Branded Retribution is banned, Grand Renewal doesn't actually get you Branded Fusion, and neither does the Albion Estrada Dragon, because they can't dump Retribution. You can't like have Sarnier dump Branded Fusion and then Grand Renewal dump Albion Estrada to dump Retribution to add back to Branded Fusion. That doesn't work. So because of that, and as you can see, they limited Albaz and Alibert to 1. Opening is also, by the way, at 1, and Branded Fusion is at 1. So I don't think you can really get away with playing a pure branded build, because you just don't have enough starters. Like, you literally have more bricks than starters. That's why I'm playing it in like a quote-unquote fusion of a fusion deck like this. So this is branded tier, and obviously this is not exactly optimized. You could probably either get this down to 40 or include more crucial engine pieces that I'm probably missing. But the gist of this is, also Rhino Heart is at 1. But Rhino Heart at 1 is not as big of a deal because you're locked into fusions anyways, so you can actually use fusion deployment as a starter. You're not going to use fusion deployment to get Cartasia or Fallen Valbaz most of the time. Fallen Valbaz, it's okay as you can use it as a going second card as a board breaker. But most of the time you're going to use fusion deployment to reveal Kaleido Heart, and then you're going to summon Rhino Hearts from your deck, and that's going to be how you start the game. So it doesn't really matter now that Rhino Heart is at 1, because you have 5 copies of Rhino Heart even anyways. I don't think the deck would be that really inconsistent. Also, you have 3 Supreme Seamare, another normal summon. I think the Tearlament aspect of the tier deck is completely fine. In fact, if you wanted to, you could probably just cut the brand stuff and just run a pure tier deck. That would also be fine. It's just that because you're not going in, you're locked into fusions because of the event already. So the branded package locking you into fusions doesn't really matter much, since you're not going to be exceeding or linking with your Tearlament plays anyways. So I figured the opportunity cost is a lot less by including the branded stuff. And obviously the Kashtiras are legal, by the way, just keep this in mind for this event. Kashtiras are almost fully legal. Well, okay, not almost fully legal. I forgot. There's 1 unicorn. However, you still have 1 Finner and 1 Raid Soft, so you can still run this for the Tearlament part of the deck, and then add the 1 German Kashtira. You have triple. I'm running triple grief again. I just want to be able to play the game. I just want consistency. But by the way, I'm sorry. I should have mentioned this earlier. Max C is banned. Hallelujah. That's why we're not playing Gulf by the Grave. We're not playing Ash Blossom, because we don't need to negate Max. We don't need to worry about it. You just run all gas in this build. And if you're worried about your brand fusion getting ashed, I mean, start with your tier plays. If your opponent has an Ash, they're 100% going to use their Ash on one of your, either your Rhino Heart or a Grief or something, or even a Kid, because they're not, I mean, they have to use the Ash on something, right? They're not going to suspect that you leave the follow-up Brand Fusion. And if they don't interrupt your tier plays at all, and they just wait for a Brand Fusion on the Ash, I mean, that's fine too, because your Tearlament plays are pretty decent as well. And yeah, for the ratios, like this is a more heavy focus on the tier side than the branded side, because the brand side is honestly, it's kind of weak. It's branded fusion for Mirror Jade, and that's pretty much it. That's as much value as you're gonna get from a brand engine, in my opinion. If you mill Fallen Albaz, you know, it kind of sucks ass for you because it's at 1 and you don't really have a way to get it back. The Lubellion and a Sarnier, so Bistios are legal, so Bistios might be a problem. If Bistios are very popular, you might adjust the build to play more around Bistios. But right now, these two Bistios I only included in here for the brand fusion line, so you can dump the Lubellion off the brand fusion and Sarniers because you want some target for Lubellion if you happen to draw it. 2 Shufflers are pretty decent. Triple Super Poly, this is the advantage that the fusion group has, in that you can run Super Poly and you can run Super Poly targets. No other group obviously can run Super Poly as a board breaker. So again, we don't really need to focus on hand traps, we can just focus on board breaking and playing through the boards with gas. Yeah, most of this stuff is pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty standard tier ratios. Like you're gonna run one of each trap in the Trippy Karma and a Pearl Rhino and like the Heartbeat and all that stuff. And it's for the branded stuff, you're running the good cards that get you to Aliber. So you have Gold Sark and Foolish, which can banish Tragedy or dump Tragedy to get you your Aliber, which gets you your brand fusion. Or you could yeah, I don't know really what Cartasia add, to be honest. You can make, if you have extras, like for example, if you don't have a play for some reason and like your Rhino Heart got negated, you can theoretically fusion deployment for a Cartasia to fuse the Sharon out of your hand, and then that way you can trigger the Sharon that way to make a kit, and then you can also have the Grand Guignol to, I guess, dump a Lubellion, or that doesn't really do anything for you, to be honest. A Grand Guignol without Retribution kind of loses a lot of value, so it's like a tag out that you can tag out into Coritis. Yeah, I don't know, this is kind of weird. I haven't played with branded without Retribution for a long time, because that's just, ever since Cartasia and all that stuff, that's what like that kind of relied on quite a lot, especially with the brand limitations. But we'll see. I'm sure this deck is completely competent and not a perfect build, but it's like 90-95% of the way there, and then you can just adjust the rest. This is fine. If you have tier cards, you have brand cards, this is gonna get you all the gems you need. This is gonna be fine. And I'm just realizing now, but if I have Lubellion in the deck, I could probably include a target for Lubellion. I'm just saying, maybe I should include a loss, and then because of loss, maybe I should include a target like Mercurial that you can add it off loss, you can get it again. Maybe something like this. 46 cards. Yeah, looks alright. Oh yeah, and you can always brand and fusion, dumping a Sharon or Habits as well, so you can double fuse twice if you have material. It's really nice. Yeah, again, you can cut all the branded cards and just run straight up tier at 40 cards, and that will also work fine. And just include more Super Poly targets. I don't know what Super Poly targets to include at this point, because your opponent's not going to make Savage Dragon, because they're not going to be able to make Lynx, so yeah, Guilty, or what's that card? Draco Quest isn't really a really common target anymore, so yeah, you're probably just gonna do a lot of Garura and Mud Dragon with Super Polys. Yeah. Alright. Get ready to see a lot of this deck. This deck is so legal for this event. I love Floodgates. I love Rex Charm. I heckin' love my opponents not being able to activate monster effects. So, I mean, there's not really much to explain about this deck. The deck build is very straightforward. It's just mostly standard Dinomorphia ratios. All you're missing are the pots and, you know, the maxis, which is nice. Also, we're not running Ash because, frankly, maybe Ash might be impactful. I don't know. It's probably not necessary. You could probably just get away with running a full-on trap build like this. So maybe more board breakers, you know, to combine with your Solemn Strikes and your Dinomorphia Intact, which is just a Solemn Strike if you control a Dinomorphia card. Fun fact, Dinomorphia card includes a trap card like that you flip up, like Domain or Frenzy. So even if you don't have a Dinomorphia monster, you can flip up Domain and they try to negate it with like an Ash. You can intact it because you do control a face-up Dinomorphia card. It's the trap you just face up, and then you can, you know, negate their Ash, and you can also negate their onboard monsters. So yeah, fair. If you can like reduce your life points, and then you can trap trick for stuff like, okay, maybe not trap trick because that locks you out of an intact, but you combine a Solemn Strike with an intact with like a board breaking spell like or trap like Fair Flames. You can potentially run Ice Dragon's Prison or, you know, like Torrential or Daruma Cannon just to have more traps to help you going second instead of like maybe an Imperm. Maybe Imperm's not as impactful, for example. So yeah, ratios are 1 Misk, just as a searchable off fossil deck if you already have everything. 3 Phyresia, this is the best start in your deck, sets any trap. 3 Diplos, because honestly, you probably don't run 3 of this normally, but without the pots and other stuff, I mean, it's not terrible, I guess. Maybe you can cut this down to 2, maybe there's a better card to run than the 3rd Diplos. Triple Super Poly also helps with board breaking, and this deck has a lot of extra deck space, so you can run whatever the hell you want as Super Poly targets. So there you go. You can maybe run a... Whoops. Guilty Gearfried. Is there any deck that makes warrior monsters that's an Xyz or... Xyz or Synchro deck? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's worth putting in anyways. Just in case, not like you're gonna use your 15 extra deck slot in this deck anyways. Yeah, triple Fair Flames, make your opponent shuffle monster they control. If you the combined attack of all your phases monsters your opponent monster controls higher than your life points, you make them shuffle monsters until they have monsters that are less than your life points, which is gonna be less than 1,000 most of the time. So your opponent's gonna lose all their monsters off of this. It's a board wipe that shuffles back to the deck. It's insane. Triple Imperm, just probably like maybe run a Strike and Prison or Torrential over Imperm. Imperm might not be impactful enough. Triple Trap Tricks, since it can just search you your traps. Triple Domain and Triple Frenzy, this is how you get to Rex Term. And Double Alert, this is just it's a Goddam's Emergency call, it just special summons 2 Dinomorphic monsters from grave. Triple Solemns, Triple Strike, you know, reduce your life points, negate everything. It's pretty cool, It's triples, not triple. 1 Sonic, it's a spell and trap negate. You know, if they want to evenly use, tough shit. And triple contact, which is just 3 more Solemn Strikes. You can have Draco Utopian Aura, you can also put in this slot. This is also another Solemn Strike. And honestly, this is probably, if you own this might be better than Solemn Strike. Maybe, because it doesn't pay life and Solemn Strike has a fixed cost. But oh, this doesn't negate Ash, so it's probably not as good as Strike. Yeah, never mind about that. You can run Draco Utopian Aura over the Imperm if you want, but this is generally what the trap lineup somehow look like, and the extra deck is just 3 Kentragina, 3 Rex Terms, 3 Stealth Bergia, and the rest of the shit doesn't really matter because you're locked into fusions anyways. So yeah, there's a Soul of the Supreme King. Is that legal? I guess not. So yeah, no Zark, funny stuff for this deck. Not like you really need it anyways. Moving on. And because, of course, Konami has to sell the newest selection pack, Chimera is a legal deck for this event. Now, I do say legal, however, the brand engine is fucked in Master Duel. And for this event, it's even worse. So we already know Alibur, and Alvast for this event are at 1, and then Brand Fusion and everything are already at 1 for normal ban list. Brand Retribution is also banned. Because Retribution is banned, it kills any more branded engine you can run in this deck, theoretically, because Cartasia doesn't get you Brand Fusion anymore. There's no Retribution to add back the Brand Fusion, so you know the Grand Granule plays, the Albion Shadow Dragon plays, those plays to add back Brand Fusion, they don't work. And Alibur is at 1, which is funny because you would only run 1 Alibur in this build anyways, because you need to normal summon Mirror Source Knight. If you normal summon Alibur, you can't even do your illusion plays. So you have to use Brand Opening to get your Alibur out, which sucks because you're running a 1-to-1 brick to starter ratio. Same with Brand Fusion, you're running a 1-to-1 brick to starter ratio. Like, it's kind of it feels really bad if you draw the wrong piece. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, if you don't know what this deck does, essentially, whether you start with Brand Fusion or not, if you start with Brand Fusion, you're going to dump Rinbrum if you don't already have one of these 2 cards. And by making Rinbrum, you're gonna dump Gazelle and Albast, and Gazelle is gonna search your Cornfield Kodo. Kodo is gonna pitch itself to add Mirror Sword Knight. You're gonna summon Mirror Sword Knight. It's gonna tribute itself, get Berfamit. Berfamit's gonna add you another Gazelle plus Chimera Fusion. These 2, you're gonna Chimera Fusion into Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, hand rip your opponent for 1 at the end phase, and then this will add itself back from the grave, and Berfamit will summon back Mirror Swords Knight to your field, so your field should be Rinbrum, Mirror Swords Knight, and Chimera. If you didn't start with Brand Fusion, then you just won't have the Rinbrum, it's fine. And then during your opponent's turn, you're gonna draw a face, Mirror Knight, Sword Knight, tribute itself, summon another Berfamit, get another Gazelle plus Chimera Fusion as follow-up for the next turn, and then with the Chimera on the field, it counts as a Chimera to find Mythical Beast. So does this one, and so does hold on. Oh yeah, so does Berfamit, and so does Chimera. So if you have one of these on the field, then these 2 have graveyard and field effects, where you can banish Sword Knight to negate a monster effect, and then Cornfield Kodo negates any targeting effect on any card, as long as you control one of these 3 fusions. And yeah, that's that's like an interruption and a half right there, and then you have Chimera Fusion to fuse on your opponent's turn into Guardian Chimera. And that's like pretty much gonna be most of your plays for a build like this. So you can see it's a 1-card engine deck with a bunch of hand traps. Even though Maxi is banned, we're still running Call by the Grave, Cross Out, and Gamma, because Ash on Mirror Knight, Swords Knight also hurts a hell of a lot. So you just want to push your plays through. Again, I'm using Small World in this particular build because even Prosperity is banned for this event, so you need consistency. So Mirror Swords Knight, or Small World, you can at least convert any hand trap into a Mirror Swords Knight, if not a Cornfield Kodo. And obviously Super Poly, because we're playing the Fusion deck in this event, so we get to use Super Poly. Yeah, for the extra deck, it's just Super Poly targets these 2 Chimera, 1 Berfamit, 1 Chimera the Illusion Beast. This is your OTK tool. You make this with usually you go into this after you make a Berfamit or a Chimera, and then if you have like 3 extra fusion monsters or 2 extra fusion monsters and a mobile monster attack monster in opponent's field, this can attack like 3 to 4 times, and it doesn't destroy the monster it battles with. So you attack anything once, their attack gets reduced to 0, then you attack that same monster again and again, and then that's how you usually kill them. Then you have the branded package. These are if you already have Kodo and Mirror Swords Knight, you can branded fusion for Mirror Jade by using either Albion or Dubellion. And obviously I use Sprint because if you start with Rinbrum, Rinbrum can also revive the Albast Grave to fuse on your opponent's turn. So you have like a few targets to fuse your opponent's monsters with. You need 2 Guardian Chimera if you're playing Chimera. It's kind of the boss monster of the deck, and then 1 Magnum the reliever. This can relieve my Magnum anytime. I mean, what? Sorry. Bruh. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man Konami? Why the hell are you leaving Calamity Legal for another event? This is like the 3rd straight event that you can get Calamity locked by fucking TGs. 3 straight, like, oh my god, I'm sick of this card. It doesn't even happen that often, just the fact that this is legal. And yeah, they did hit the Diabellstar. They hit Wanted to 1, they hit Diabellstar to 1, and they hit Bonfire to 1. And you have the one original Sinful Spoils. Guess what? It's probably not gonna matter because one Snake Eye Ash. By the way, last event Snake Eye Ash was banned, the Synchro event. Okay, Snake Eye Ash is legal. So this deck is actually more consistent than it was last event, because Snake Eyes Ash is full 1-card combo. Add popular, search original symbols, spoils, get your TG Rocket Salamander, bam, you have full combo into Calamity Lock. So yeah. You gotta because this is legal, you might have to facilitate hand traps in your deck. You know, hopefully if you're playing Synchro that you're not gonna face Calamity Mirror matches, because that sounds kind of awful to play against, to be honest. But you know what? Yeah, maybe what I said about Draco Quest not being a viable target, but you should probably put Draco Quest in your fusion decks now that I think about it, just because Calamity possibly is a possibility. Although how often you can even end this with a Warrior Synchro, right? Maybe not too often. I don't know. If you're a TG lover, if you're a TG enjoyer, go ahead, bro. Show Konami the error of their ways. This is a super expensive deck, so yeah, I'm not gonna advise you to build this if you don't already have all of the cards. But if you do, be aware this is an option. And we have the hand traps. This deck even has room for hand traps. Goddamn. Call by the Graves, Triple Tactics Talons. I've seen people run Forbidden Lance just to hit Imperm, just to push through their turn 1 combo. Which, you know what? I respect it. If you want to run Lance for the Imperm just to push through Calamities, go for it. I think Tactics might have more value, although to be honest, with no Max C, there's significantly less hand traps in the format, so maybe Tactics might end up not being that great. We'll see. Again, because the Wanted engine and Snake Eyes fucking Ash is legal this event, you don't have to run multiple copies of the bad TGs, you just gotta run one each of Boost, Raptor, Tank Grub, and Gear Zombie. And then you don't even need to run 3 Salamander, you can just get away with 2 Salamander just because original Simple Spoils is like so searchable in this deck. It's like... Yeah, obviously you have the Snake Eyes package, the 1 popular, you're never gonna draw this, don't worry about it. The 1 Diabellstar, the 1 Bonfire, the 1 Wanted, 1 Simple Spoils, 1 for 1, also a starter, and then you have TG Limiter removal, double Rhoda, double fucking Rhoda, who'd have thought, TG all clear, extra normal summon, nice, and you can destroy a TG monster and then add another one from your hand. You know, there's combos there, and then TG close. It's just a counter trap, you know, in case your opponent has an Alpha Calamities. No, actually with a counter, no, they don't. You're not gonna search this most of the time. Most of the time, you're gonna dump this off of a Mighty Striker, and then you're gonna reset it with its own effect when you use end with a Glaive Blaster. Glaive Blaster is gonna banish one of your own Synchro monsters, like a Blade Blaster, and then it's gonna banish your own TG monster. Triggers this to reset itself, and that's gonna get you TG close plus Crimson Dragon into Calamity. Great. The extra deck has a bit more room because there's no links, so I'm just running extra copies of extra TG monsters like Mighty Striker, Star Guardian, Bruno, 2 copies of Bruno, 3 copies of Over Dragonard. This is the Soul Charge. This is the choke point of the deck. If you have an Imperm, you probably want to save your Imperm for this card specifically. You definitely want to hit the Soul Charge. Blade Blaster, part of the combo. Baron is Baron. Cosmic Blazer Dragon is it's just it's free negate. Shooting Star Dragon, I don't think you really need this, but again, with no links, you do have a bit of extra room. There's no elf, so elf protection for Infirm on your Crimson Dragon might be a little sus if you don't also have access to TG close, but you're gonna probably have access to TG close a lot of the time anyways. So yeah, man, that's it's funny. It's not just the fact that Calamity Lock has been legal for 3 straight events, it's the fact that the deck that Calamity Lock has been getting less hits and been getting stronger every event. Like they're making the Calamity Lock deck better every event. What Konami? What is you doing, little bro? Now I want to bring your attention to another Synchro deck, and alert: Junk Speeder is legal. For the first time in literally 2 years of Synchro events, basically since the first Synchro event we've ever had, Junk Speeder has been banned from every single event since, for whatever reason. I don't know, maybe they thought this deck was too good or something, but you know, now finally you get to play this. Synchron enjoyers. You say fanboys, rejoice. So yeah, now before I start with the deck list, you can Calamity Lock with this. You 100% can Calamity Lock with this deck list. Unfortunately, if you want to be a bit cringe like that, you can Calamity Lock your opponent just like with TGs, but you can also just spam synchros and win the board that way. You can like hand loop your opponent for 3 with this Spader, Omega, and Trishla, because hand looping for 3 is much cooler than Calamity Locking, am I right? So yeah, the deck list for the engine, obviously you have to have that Synchrons. This is a deck that uses the Snake Eyes engine and the Wanted engine. The Snake Eyes engine is not really usable in its current state because this deck actually needed Flamberge, which is obviously banned. But you still used Wanted because Wanted and Diabellstar gets you original Sinful Spoils, which gets you your Jet Synchron, which is your main starter. You have the one-off Synchros, Assault Synchron and Revolution Synchron. You could maybe bump these up, but mainly these are just what you summon off of Speeder anyways, so you don't want to clog on too many tuners, because fun fact, Effect Veiler also counts as a tuner. It is a level 1 tuner, so the level is like perfect. You can make Junk Speeder if you're a plethora of level 4s with 1-for-1, stuff like that. We're running the Adventure engine because even though Griffin Rider is banned and only a legal knight is ironically legal, the Adventure engine still gives you a level 4 non-tuner and a level 7 non-tuner, which is incredible because it gives you 2 non-tuner bodies at the exact same levels, the pair of your level 1. So like, the level 1 tuners with the level 4 token can go into Junk Speeder and stuff like that, and the level 7 body with your level 1 tuners can go into your level 8 synchros like Omega, Excel Stardust, and Diabolantis. This is a neat engine. So Diabolantis, when you synchro summon this, you can send plant or insect monsters to the grave from your deck. And what you send is Praying Mantis. Praying Mantis, you just banish this from your grave and you get to summon a level 1 token. That with Diabolantis can also change that token to a tuner if you wanted to, or keep it as a non-tuner, either way. And even if you like, this isn't even about the draw. This is just a level 4 non-tuner that when you synchro it off, you get to banish from the grave and get another body, a level 1 body. So it's perfectly fine. Speaking of non-tuners, Reborn Tengu, all my boomers rejoice. This card is good again in this deck. Once per turn, just get a free bodies. You go through two Tengus, all 3 Tengus a lot of times, and you just have infinite tuners to synchro with the Tengus. It's great. It's like it's like 2011 on crack. And Stardust Synchron, I think this is a proper ratio: 2 Synchron, 1 Trail, and then 1 Stardust Illumination. I think this is the best of the tuners. It's a level 4, so it also combines level 4 bodies to make level 8 synchros, all that stuff. And yeah, I think Nibiru is just for cross-out. I'm not sure how good Nibiru is in Synchro decks, because Synchro decks are going to be facing off against a lot of Xyz decks, and by Xyz decks I mean, well, you're going to see the Xyz deck. I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but Nibiru is not quite the best against those decks. It's also not quite best against the fusion decks either. So Synchro decks, maybe the utility in Nibiru is a little lower than in the other 2 groups, but a cross-out target, I suppose. Maybe you can cut this. Maybe it's not actually that great, because the decks that get hit most by Nibiru are the Synchro decks, and if you're a Synchro deck yourself, you're probably not gonna, assuming they do the event properly, you're not gonna face against any Synchro decks. So yeah, Foolish 1-for-1, 3 Synchro Overtake. You reveal Jet Warrior from your deck, and you just get Jet Synchron, because you have less copies of Diabell's Unwanted, so this is just more copies of more ways to special Jet Synchro from your deck. And yeah, non-engine, you need non-engine for an Xyz deck. It's Purrely. It's gonna be Purrely, bro. I'm sorry. Spoilers. If you next deck, you're gonna want hand traps against Purrely because you don't want Nibiru against that deck, and you don't want to deal with unaffected Noir for free. And for the extra deck, Celestial Double Star, TT, Hyper Librarian, draw 20 cards during your turn, draw into all your hand traps. Fair. Oh, by the way, you can cut this down to 40 if you don't want the more. I just wanted more because I think you need probably more non-engine if you're playing a synchro deck, but you can cut these two to go to 40. Jet Warrior just for the synchro overtake, Excel Synchron, Junk Speeder, Black Rose as a level 7 Stardust Dragon to pair with the Excel Stardust, Omega Hand Rip, part of the Hand Rip combo with this Fader, and then Trishla. That's how you loop 3 cards. Crocodile Dragon. It's an Crocodile Dragon. You can link climb with. You only need link climb. What am I talking about? Synchro climb with just 2 bodies instead of the 3 you need for Trishla, so it makes it easier. For example, 1 Diabelantis can set up a Crocodile Dragon if you really need to draw cards off of Librarian. Baron is Baron. Crimson Dragon can get also an alternative way to get you this Fader without using. If you want to use Excel Stardust and going to go into Baron, for example, you can then use Crimson Dragon on the Baron to get your Dispader and then to combo off that way. So yeah, that's Synchro. This deck hasn't been playable, and the poster child of Synchro decks has not been legal in a Synchro event in 2 years. So now it is. So I guess have fun with this if you own this deck. All right, so you're looking at this Purrely list, and you're wondering, besides Maxi, well, what are the actual hits of this deck? And I'll tell you what the hits are. We can't play Relinquish Anima or Sky Striker Ace Azalea. That's it. Everything else, this is literally completely legal in constructed standard ladder right now. This build, beside from the Maxi and the 2 Link monsters you play. Like, Jesus Christ, bro! Wow. Do they need to sell these? Do they want you to buy the Purrely Secret Pack that bad? Like, oh my God, this is. And yes, this is the budget version. This is you could play if you have Ghost Tricks, play the Ghost Trick version. Play Ghost Trick shots and the trap card. Play the 6 Ghost Trick URs in here to make a UDF in the extra deck. It's not like you have space issues anymore now. They don't have to play the Link monsters. So yeah, Purrely. I think this is gonna be the best deck of the format, probably by a large version. And just by virtue of this being the best deck, every Xyz deck in the event just got a lot better. Why? Because they can't match up against Purrely, because Xyz decks can't play against each other. So if you want to do this event, and you want to avoid this bullshit, go play an Xyz deck. That's probably your best way, because goddamn, bro, wow, I can't believe that they just got Purrely Noir too. There's no consistency issue with this deck now, because my friend guarantees you to get a Sleeping Memory at least, which Sleeping Memory gets you Purrely Noir, and Noir gets you Eep, and then Eep gets you your X-Purrely Noir, while drawing 4 to 6 cards during your standby phase. Nice. You want a Kurikara? Like that's fine. That's probably their one way, because they ban Ensemble Nightingale, probably just to stop you from making Ensemble Nightingale plus Noir. That way, you at least if you play a way to out Noir, you could potentially try to kill them. I say try because if you Kurikara the Purrely player, that's after they drew 4 cards, 6 cards off their standby phase, and look at all the hand traps they play. So yeah. And anyway, the Purrely ratio, literally the Purrely ratios are incredibly self-explanatory. You literally run max copies of every single one of them. Even Street. Street is broken. Your opponent cannot target your Purrely. Your Imperm, your Valerie, get that shit out of here. Your Mourners, no, that shit, that don't work against this card. Very, very, very fair and balanced. And running a discard package because, there's space. You don't have to include space for Maxi anymore, so you have a bit more room. And this is the budget the quote-unquote, this deck is not budget at all, but this is the budget discard package. The high-end discard package is the Ghost Trick stuff, but that, again, 6 cards in the extra, 6 URs in the extra deck, no thank you, bro. I'm gonna stick with my browse and draw a card for a discard for free. The 3 card Shaddoll package, these are all hard ones per turns, unlike browse, so the way you use these is if you have Schemata, you discard Schemata, and if you only have 1 discard outlet, you send Beast and then draw a card. If you have 2 discard outlets, you and Schemata send Hedgehog. Hedgehog will add Beast, and then the second discard can discard the Beast. So you'll between these, you should have around enough to get. If you draw any pieces of this, you should have enough to get 2 discards for free. So you can just cycle through. You can go through both white cats and a black cat very easily, and then you'll end up with some sort of noir with a amount of sleeping memories underneath it, possibly with a stray spree so that they can't even target your noir even they try to. Like, yeah, that's just. And utility rank 1s, Slacker just for Zeus, honestly. Sylvan Princess Sprite if you want a high roll and get more. Fun fact, Princess Sprite milling a Shaddoll monster also triggers the Shaddoll monster, so that's some accidental synergy there. Kiki Nagashi Fucho, unaffected. No Ensemble Nightingale, so this is probably the best rank 1 you can end with alongside your Noir, just bounce your special summons. So, and just make it even harder to kill you, because if they don't kill you, they're dead next turn. 2 Happy, 2 Beauty, 2 Plump, 1 Noir. You will only really need 1 Noir, even if they unicorn this like you're going second. You don't need to play this card going second, because your happiness is already very good going second. It's probably honestly better than Noir going second most of the time. So if this can be your go second tool, and if you're going first, you're not gonna get this ripped out reaction deck. So unless is Cherries legal? No, Cherries is not. What am I talking about? They can't run Xyz in reaction. Of course you can't get Cherries. Okay, so yeah, this is fine. Just more like plays going first and going second. This deck is already good enough. Downer for Zeus. Double Fat Cat. And hard made this if you're playing the Ghost Trick package. Yeah, man. I sure love Purrely being meta again. So again, the best part about Xyz Decks is that they don't have to match up against Purrely. So you have an easier matchup for it, because Purrely is probably going to be the best deck of the event by a margin. Quite a margin. And especially look at Kashtira. They put Unicorn to 1, but they left a Rise Heart legal. So what this means is a lot of your games are going to be one of 2 ways. Either one way you don't brick, and then you have a way to Rise Heart, and then a Rise Heart absolutely destroys every Synchro deck and Fusion deck in the game. It's an FTK against them. So you're going to just auto win off of making a Rise Heart. Or option number 2, you don't draw one of your very few starters, and then you can't do anything, and then you lose the game because you can't play the game. So yeah, if you want to gamble, you want to like roll a die and to see how well you do this event. You know, this is the deck for you. Your games are gonna be determined really fast, so that's one advantage. And like, in order to make up for a loss in consistency of just literally 1 unicorn, we're running both Small World and Planet Pathfinder. Just 6 more ways. You know, one way that gets very easily stopped by hand traps and costs your normal summon, and the other way is -1 and costs a card in your hand. But you know, you gotta get to unicorn. You gotta do what you gotta do. And honestly, this deck kind of got hurt by not being able to use synchros, because you can't make Baron with your level 3 tuners. So you cannot even have a way to protect a Rise Heart. It's literally just draw the out turbo, bro. And this one droll is literally just for a Small World bridge with Gamma and your other hand traps like Ash and Mourner, so you can bridge into Unicorn. I think the cards that you cannot bridge into Unicorn in this build are Rise Heart, which is unfortunate, although I guess you would probably want to keep the Rise Heart in hand if you had it. Planet Pathfinder, which, you know, if you had a Planet Pathfinder already, at least you can use Planet Pathfinder to get your Unicorn instead of the Small World, right? It's not the end of the world. And then the big one is Valor. I don't think there's no real good bridge for Valor. You have to run another brick or to make Valor a bridge into Unicorn, which I don't kind of don't want to do that. I mean, Gamma is already iffy because if you literally cannot Gamma to protect your Pathfinder because there's no Omega. So if you Gamma an Ash on your Pathfinder, I mean, sure, you negate the Ash, but you also can't summon your Kashtira monster that turn because you have monster in your field and you already used your normal summon. At least if you Gamma and Ash in your small world, you can at least tribute summon your cash monster over the Gamma and the driver, so you have that going for you. But yeah, it's a good hand trap going second, and it's a small world bridge, so it's alright. Desires, you know, fuck it, but bro, if you don't, I don't give a shit that Fender and Unicorn are one. If you don't have playable, just ball, bro. Just banish 10. You know, you weren't gonna play the game anyway. You might as well chance it to get a chance to play the game. And yeah, there's not really much to talk about. You just this is like a fairly standard cash build with hand traps. You just replace the copies of Unicorn with like more Pathfinders and small worlds. The extra deck literally, it's just a Rise Hard Zeus and like whatever level 7s you have. Like you have a Big Eye, Dracosac, Master of Blades, doesn't really matter. Red Eyes Flare Metal never comes up. Titanic Mob, attack directly to make a Zeus. Darkrown Dragon, probably the only other rank 7 you'll actually go into in this deck. Mountain Smasher gets you a 4 material, you know, Zeus if you attack over a Weenie monster, a Weenie Hut Jr., and Shangri-La, which honestly kinda sucks in this format because both Fender and Unicorn are 1. So even if you make Shangri-La, what are you gonna summon out your deck? Are you gonna summon a fucking ogre? Like what does that do for you, bro? Like yeah, I don't, might not even be worth to even go for the Shangri-La play, honestly. Like you may literally just make it a Rise Heart in 4 summons, or in 5 summons because Pathfinder kind of sucks. But you know what, they won't have Nib. Alright, finally, Jesus Christ, I've gone through a lot of decks this video. Holy shit. We have Exosisters, because Exosisters is also relatively unhit except for Shifter. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Yeah, Shifter is banned. So that in Kashtira also you didn't have Shifter, but yeah, I mean it's still technically full power. Like all the engine is still intact. It's just, I mean, how good is the Exosister a deck really, especially without Shifter, even for being unhit? I mean, it's no Purrely, but like I said, it's a buff because this deck never has to face against Purrely because it's in Xyz Decks. So that's nice. And ironically, this has a good matchup against the fusion decks because the fusion decks like Tear and Branded. Okay, maybe not Branded, but Branded itself is, I don't even think that's really much of a deck. So against like Tear and maybe Chimera, the fact that they play out of their graveyard is an advantage for you. And I mean, yeah, it's excellent. It's not really that complicated of a deck, so I guess we can go over the ratios. 3 Marfa, 3 Ellis, these are best ones. 2 Stella and 2 Sophia, just so you can have targets in deck for Vadis, and it's these actually have okay effects. This draws a card, the special summons some monster. You only want 1 Irene because this is the worst sister. It has a terrible, well, not a terrible effect, but it's just a cycling 1 card. Like it's not really what you want, and it's like, can you even special this? Special? Yeah, you can't. This doesn't even special itself. It's just there for an extra name. And yeah, the best Exosister monsters are 3 Aratama, 3 Psychotama. So Marfa is not the best starter in the deck, not by a long shot. Marfa doesn't actually get you full combo by itself. Everyone knows Aratama is the 1-card combo in the deck. This gets you Magnifica plus a Search off Michaelis. 1 Marfa without another sister, without another extender, it only gets you to Michaelis. So yeah, fun fact. Marfa not even the best starter in its own deck. Sag. And Sagitama is just another extender that you can't special summon non-Exosister monsters, so this is the only one that works because it's a normal summon. So you got a little bit of flunneries going on there. And yeah, 3 packs just adds any of them. 2 Vadis, 2 return. I'm not sure if the 2-2 is the proper ratio. I think usually you go for 2-1 is the ratio. I don't know which one is the 1 and which one is the 2, but I just put these in to be safe. And then non-engine, because when you're in Xyz, you're going to face Synchro Decks, and fusion decks, and the Synchro decks in particular are gonna calamity lock you, so you can't play board breaks. You gotta play hand trap. So Valor, Ash, and Infirm, I guess, are pretty obvious. Crow is good. So Crow is good against the fusion decks like Tier and Branded, but also Crow triggers your own Marfa. So that's nice. If you get negated, right? If you have a Marfa on the field, you can just when your opponent does something, you can just Crow one of your cards, trigger Marfa by itself, and then Marfa can go into Mikaela's, and then you get it interrupted that way. So it's still fine that way. It has the most synergy of the deck. Same with Called by the Grave. That's why you still run Called by. Crossout is like literally just for Ash. I don't really know. Maybe I should put in a Nibiru for crossout, but honestly, if you Nibiruing is so bad in this deck because you can't control if you control Nibiru, you can't Marfa. So it's like I hate playing Nibiru in decks like this and Cash where it's like it hinders your plays if you don't have a perfect hand. So it's whatever. And then the 13th hand trap is Mourner because more hand traps. So this is if you don't want to run Nibiru, this is probably the next best one. Droll is like iffy against the fusion decks because they don't really need to add multiple times. And the extra deck is literally just Exosister monsters. Magnifica, Mikaela's, Caspel, these are the best ones, and then Jabreen and As. Sophia, these are less good, so you only need them at 2. It doesn't even matter because there's no pots, so it's not like you need multiple copies of these anyways. It's just you're locked in the Exosister, so there's not really much else you can do anyways. Then Dweller because you can, you know, very funny enough. If you don't want to Exosister your tier opponent, you can just Dweller your tier opponent instead. That's probably just as good. So yeah, that's Exosisters for you. Jesus Christ, I covered a lot of decks in this video. Hopefully, you'll own one of the many decks that I've showcased in this video. And the reason I'm doing all 3 is because it looks like you don't need to do all 3 groups in order to get all the gems from the events here. But I know for a fact that there's going to be missions for the event that's going to require you to fusion, synchro, and Xyz summon. So it's good to be able to have decks for all 3 summoning types just to complete those missions. And again, I'm trying to look into budget builds. Let me know if you have any ideas. I'm trying to look. I'll make a video up when I find at least one budget build for each of these types, so that you can still complete the mission if you don't want to play the loner decks, right? So it'll be around here if I ever find any.